Hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Learner's Mic by my mentor. Have you ever thought of flying above clouds? I'm sure you have. Today, on the occasion of World Pilots Day, we have a very special guest with us who has been chasing skies with passion and precision. From journalism to aviation, her journey is all about her bold decisions, high altitude, and her hard work. So here we introduce our guest, Miss Priya Upadhyay. Hi Priya, how are you?
Charu, how are you?
I'm also good, Priya. So Priya, let's take off with our podcast. So can you walk us through the educational path you took?
So I did my schooling from DPS Gurgaon, Sector 45, and after which I did journalism and mass communication again from Delhi itself. And while I was in college itself, in my second year, I decided, I mean, this was a long time goal that I wanted to become a pilot, but my mom wanted me to have a backup plan because of how turbulent the industry can get. So I eventually, during my second year of college, went up to my dad and I told him that I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I want to do the degree, but I don't want to pursue journalism as a career path. I want to get into aviation. So I started with the whole procedure of doing my medical, clearing my exams while I was in college itself. So I was trying to balance out the college load along with my DGC exams, and then thereafter continued and took a switch.
So you told me that from beginning you were very clear that you wanted to get into aviation. But what inspired you to get into aviation?
So I used to spend a lot of time as a child at the airport when there was no Terminal 3, there was only Terminal 1 and Terminal 2. My uncle, my dad's elder brother, used to work for the Delhi ATC. And back then, you could enter the airport. The security wasn't as strict as it is today. So every Sunday, I would spend at the airport. I would enjoy my McDonald's burger and I would just, look at aircrafts coming and going and pilots coming and going, the counter staff. I was fascinated with everything aviation. It's not just that the pilot side of it fascinated me. Literally, the people at the check-in counter also fascinated me. I just was very happy at the airport. It was my happy place. So that's where the fascination kind of began. And then when I was in the 10th grade, I ended up having a conversation with someone who's still a very close friend of mine. And we just, he had already decided he wants to become a pilot. But after talking to him, I got the guidance as to how to navigate myself in aviation. And that was primarily the major step that I took. I took science because of that. There was no other reason for me to take physics or maths. I was not very fascinated with the subjects. I didn't want to pursue engineering. But the only reason I took science was because I wanted to become a pilot.
So Priya, after science, what did you take?
After science, the natural course would have been for me to graduate in one of the science fields. But like I said, I don't find any of them that interesting. So that's why I still freelance as a writer and I was very fascinated by the world of journalism. I thought if I need a backup plan, I'm not going to make it science oriented. I'm going to focus on my other strength, which is my creative side. That's why I pursued journalism.
Okay, so I hope our viewers also heard that you have a degree in journalism. So Priya, a degree in aviation is mandatory for becoming a pilot or it is optional?
So, Charu, actually, you don't need a degree at all to become a pilot. You can become a pilot from the get go. From the moment you graduate high school, you're 18 years of age. If you're medically fit, you can begin your journey of aviation then and there. You don't need to do a physics honors, or maths honors, or an engineering degree, or a bachelor's in aviation. None of the degrees, as of now, are required.
All right, so we can become a pilot immediately after 12th, right? So, did any of the subjects which you studied in school help you during your training days?
So, the authority that looks after aviation in India, DGCA, mandates that we need physics, maths, and English. These three subjects are required. Even if you've not taken science in high school, you need to go through the open board system and clear your physics, maths, and English exams. Apart from that, there is no legal requirement. However, I would say that if you have a knack for critical thinking, that really helps. Basic math helps up until the basically the skill set that you've developed till 10th grade. I would not say that you need differentiation or integration or any of that to become a pilot. That is something we don't use every day. But yes, and basic understanding of physics.
That is actually a good news for those who are finding like differentiation and integration difficult in school. But along with academics, how important is physical health and mental health for those who are preparing for aviation in school?
So physical health, obviously, that is why they test you. That's the first step I would suggest also for anyone looking at aviation as an option. Also, just go and get your medicals done so that you know that if it's a viable option for you or not. So physical health is extremely important, and it's not just for the initial steps. You have to be physically fit along the way also. You have to make sure that you get your workouts in, you do your steps, you eat well, you eat right, you sleep on time, because over a period of time, if you're not taking care of yourself, that will start affecting your performance in the cockpit. If you will be very fatigued, your body will not be able to keep up with the kind of stress that we face on a day-to-day basis in the cockpit. And the same stands for mental health also, that it's a very mentally challenging job. It's a very high stress situation, and you have to eventually do things that make you feel good. It could be meditation, it could be reading a book, it could be watching a movie, it could be anything, but you have to take out some time just for yourself, just to recuperate and sort of reboot your brain. Otherwise you will get burnt out very, very quickly in the cockpit.
Okay, so that means like along with academics, mental health and physical health are also equally important if you want to pursue aviation. You mentioned about some tests in between. Can you explain little more about those tests which they have to clear if they want to pursue aviation? Go through.
So the medical test, there's a list of tests. You can get it online. It's very easily accessible. I'm pretty sure it's on DGCA's website also. There are certified doctors in different cities. Mostly tier 1 and tier 2 cities have doctors. They are DGCA accredited, and you can go to them and you can tell them that you need to first do your class 2 medical. That's the official term. After which you have to do your class 1 medical. So your class 2 medical you can do as soon as you turn 16. That is how low the age is. And the validity is 2 years. And the class 1 medical you can do as soon as you turn 17. So even while you're giving your board exams, or if you've just done with your boards, you can go and get that medical done. In that, they test your eyes, they test your ears, they test your blood, your basic vitamins and everything. If your blood work is basically all right. And then I don't know. There are like a lot of like nothing scary. It's a very general overall checkup.
Just okay, so they just want to make sure that you're healthy, right?
Yeah, you're healthy. You're fit and fine. And with your eyes also, a lot of people are concerned if they have specs, can they become pilots? There is no problem. As long as once you wear your spectacles, your vision is perfect. That is all that DGCA mandates.
Well, that is a great myth about becoming a pilot that if somebody wants to become a pilot, they should have like perfect power and like they should have perfect eyes. I'm sorry, I use the word perfect power. Like they should not be wearing glasses or they should not be wearing lenses. So here our pilot has cleared that myth that you can become a pilot even if you're wearing glasses or even if you're using lenses. So now, Priya, that was all about the educational journey. Now, coming to the next part of your journey, that like what kind of certification or what kind of license do you need when you are becoming a pilot?
So if you want a job in the aviation industry as a pilot, there is something, that initial license is called CPL. It's called commercial pilot license, which makes you legal to fly for any of the airliners in the country. Apart from that, when you're starting out your journey, DGCA or your flying school actually will give you a license called the SPL, which is your student pilot license, after which you can start your training. Once you are done with, I think 100 hours, you get your PPL. It's 80 hours or 100 hours, depends from country to country. PPL is private pilot license. So, and then the next step is CPL, which is 200 hours. And apart from 200 hours, there are bifurcations of these hours. There is a requirement for the number of hours that need to be solo. There are number of hours that need to be dual with an instructor. There are number of hours, day hours, night hours, single engine hours, multi-engine hours. So there's a whole bifurcation of that, but the cumulative figure is 200 hours. Once you're done with that and you've cleared all of your exams, DGCA will issue you something called a CPL, Commercial Pilot License.
Okay, so Priya, you mentioned about so many hours, day hours, night hours with the instructor, without the instructor. So, how long does it take to finish all this? Like, assume I have a viewer right now who's in 12th right now, and they want to become a pilot. Okay, so if they start now, so they should be like, how much time they should feel that, okay, how much time will it take them to finish all this?
So it's subjective. For somebody, it can be done in 15 months also. For somebody, it can take 5 years also. But if I have to give an average time, you can tentatively, from the get go, from you doing your medicals, that's the first step, to you having a license in your hand, would approximately take about 2 to 2.5 years.
So, Priya, you mentioned such a huge time gap. Why that difference?
So, Charu, it depends on where you decide to do your flying. It depends on how much time you take to clear your exams. So, there are 6 subjects that we need to clear. Now that depends on your capability. If you can clear the exams all at once, if you will, maybe take 2 at once, then take 1, then 2. So, that also reflects in the time period. But on an average, if you really put your mind to it, I think ground training, the exams part of it, should be done in about 6 to 9 months, and then the flying part starts. And flying in India is slightly slower because of the kind of weather we have. If you go outside for flying, you might end up doing it quicker. Like, I did it from India, but I know, like, in the US and Canada, flying might be slightly faster.
So, Priya, you mentioned about some 6 subjects in between that you study 6 subjects during your aviation. So, how can we prepare for the basics of these subjects during our school time? Like in our school time, which subjects we should focus more to prepare for these 6 subjects during our training period? The
Maths,
subjects.
physics, English. Actually, the one good thing that I love about aviation is the subjects that you're studying are the subjects that you will actually use day to day also in aviation. So you're studying about the weather, which is meteorology. You're studying about regulations, which is air law, what airspaces you can enter, what you cannot, what kind of lights are there. You're studying about the aircraft, which is your technical part of it. You're studying about navigation. So we don't study any of this in school, right? So when you're starting your pilot training, it is from the scratch, and the subjects have been designed in a way so that you become equipped by the time you're done with your exam.
So, Priya, in that case, like people who have not taken science stream, like maybe a student is from commerce background or they are from humanities background, and now they feel that they want to become a pilot. So, they should also be able to get into aviation.
So if you're already in the 11th or 12th grade, you can just opt to give an open board exam of physics and maths, and you can become a pilot. It's not, science is not mandatory, but yes, you need to have given the 12th board exams for physics and maths. I will re-specify that. As of now, that is what the legality says. However, there was a news article a couple of days ago that DGCA is reconsidering this policy. But right now, this is the case.
All right. Okay, Priya, so what challenges did you face during your training period?
So this is again subjective, but when I was doing my training, COVID happened. That was a major challenge. Then a couple of airlines shut down. When I was just starting my journey, Jet Airways shut down. Then COVID happened. Then Gophers shut down. So the Indian aviation market in the last 5 years has been pretty up and down, and the requirement for pilots has also been very. It's been a roller coaster, to say the least. But on a generic basis, the struggles that someone might feel they might encounter when they're going through the pilot journey would be, it's stressful in terms of you're moving away from home. You're doing this all on your own. It can be a little intimidating. Just the thought of, actually piloting an aircraft. It, apart from that, it can, there might be days you'll be flying a lot. There might be days you might not be flying at all because the weather's not in your favor or you've not cleared your exams. So basically, the one thing that I tell everyone, if you want to become a pilot, the one quality that you absolutely need is patience. As long as you're patient with it, you will see the journey through. But aviation teaches you patience in beautiful ways through different phases of your life, not just while you're doing your training or while you're looking for a job. You might be in the industry for 12 years also, it will somehow teach you patience.
Now, coming to the next part of your journey, like when did you have that feel that yes, I have become a pilot now?
I keep having those moments. Honestly, there are days that I will randomly, because I will look at myself and I'm like, okay, I dreamt about this. I really worked hard to be here. But then there are days that are not so good, and you'd be like, okay, this is very hard. This is very challenging. Why did I get into this? I could have done something else with my life. But it's mostly ups. And the day I actually felt like I'm a pilot now was probably when I actually piloted a commercial aircraft and there were passengers on board. When I heard my name in that announcement that, this is your first officer, Priya Upadhyay, and all that, that is the day that feeling came. Okay, yeah, I've made it alive. This is it.
That's really great, Priya. So, what kind of aircrafts have you flown so far?
So I did my training on Cessna 172, which is a very popular training aircraft. And thereafter, I went for my type rating. Type rating is basically when you go and get trained on a commercial aircraft. So I'm trained on the A320, A320 family, entire family. So Airbus.
A320 family. Okay, so A320 family. So now, Priya, like I want to know, like any other profession, when we have achieved something, like honestly, when I had become a teacher, we had to keep improving ourselves, right? So after becoming a pilot, you people also have to keep working on yourself. You have to keep learning, keep improving. So how do you keep improving and learning in your profession?
So the cockpit is a very dynamic environment. You cannot always anticipate what is going to happen. Every day is different. You're going to face very different challenges every day. Some day there might be a very unruly passenger on board. Some day there might be a very bad delay. Some day there might be weather. Someday there might be a technical difficulty. So the job itself actually teaches you a lot on a daily basis. But what I like to do to keep myself fresh is I just read a lot in the cockpit. Whenever I have the time, I'm just going through our manuals all over again. I will pick one random subject and just start going through it. And if I have any doubts, there's one more person who's far more experienced than I am in the cockpit. So it's always nice to pick somebody's brain and think, okay, so what do you think about this? What should have our decision making been about regarding this? So that's what keeps me fresh. And having a circle of fellow pilots around also helps, because you might take a decision in certain situations and they might think differently. So that keeps you very open minded. Okay, we could have done it like this also. Maybe this made more sense. It helps you keep evolving and correcting yourself along the way.
So, like, so you are flying on A320, right? And assume a new aircraft is coming up. Assume like so A350 is coming or any other new aircraft is coming and you want to fly that. So do you have to repeat your aircraft training for that?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
So that is how
But every time you upgrade from one fleet to another, you have to do a certification. Even if I, from let's say a 320 today, would go to a 350 later, I will have to go and do a certification. And on top of it, one more thing that helps us keep current is every 6 months we are put in simulators again, and every 1 year we have ground training again. So that keeps us really, really fresh because we're being tested on a semi-annual or an annual basis. So we have to go back to the basics, revise everything, revise the emergencies, the procedures to make sure that we are ready for whatever might be thrown our way.
So, Priya, when we think from a layman's point of view and we think of pilots, so we think of only two kind of pilot. One is like who has passenger in its aircraft and flying passengers from one place to another, and another one is like a fighter pilot, right? So, what are the other kind of pilots other than these two?
So the other kind of pilots could be, you could be flying an air ambulance for a living. That's very popular in India these days. You could be obviously in the armed forces, right? Not just a fighter pilot. You can be other sort of pilots also in the armed forces, be it Navy, be it Air Force. You could be a helicopter pilot. You could be a charter pilot. So a charter is when it's not a commercial flight, somebody has booked the entire aircraft, or the capacity of the flight is such that there are only 6 8 seats, and basically what celebrities take, or from position A to position B. It's not a scheduled flight. That is another aspect of aviation. Then there are instructional pilots. There are pilots who teach us in flying schools, who were our instructors, because not everybody can go and become a commercial pilot, right? Then who will teach people back in the flying schools? So that is also a path you can take. If you're really into the teaching aspect of it, that's a very good path to take. There are simulator pilots also that are just restricted to simulator activities. They do not actually go to commercial side of flying.
Priya, I'm sure you had an excellent journey of becoming a pilot. But what is that one thing you feel that you should have known before becoming a pilot?
Honestly, I had a very good guiding system. So I know this will sound very conceited, that but I was very ready for it mentally because my friends were already in the industry. I had seen them live this life for 2 3 years. So I was very mentally prepared about the sacrifices that had to make. But the one thing that I probably overestimated was the balancing out of your sleep cycle. So I used to think that I can sleep anytime. It's okay. As long as I'm tired, I will sleep. If I'm not tired, I'll go for a walk. I'll come back, I'll sleep. But I've realized that the body clock doesn't function that way. And that's something that I wish I would have trained myself better for. But it's something that comes with time.
So, Priya, you had an excellent guiding system, but everyone might not have. Now, let me tell that my sister is also a pilot, and once she had decided that she wants to become a pilot, she didn't know where to go and ask that, okay, what should I do? How should I get into all this? So, first thing is, how should a person decide whether aviation is a good path for them? Like, they should become a pilot. It will be correct decision for them.
See, I feel like Charu, and I'm sure your sister will agree, the one thing that will take you far in aviation is an undying love for aviation. Like you really, I know people say this, that you have to love your job, and if you love your job, it won't feel like work. But with aviation, it is very, very true. We're living this, or this is our truth on a daily basis. If you are truly not passionate about what you do, if you're not getting into aviation for the focal reason that you cannot imagine anything else you can do with your life, like if you wake up in the morning and the only thing you can think about is flying a plane, then you should become a pilot. If you are getting into it for the glamour of it, or for the fact that, okay, the uniform looks really cool, or I'll get to travel a lot, those are secondary reasons. Your primary reason needs to be very on point, first of all. And second of all, if you set your mind to, I want to become a pilot, then it's not that hard. You can actually tweak your life in a way, you can train your body, your mind in a way that you will probably end up doing it. You just have to be very disciplined. You have to stick with it. You have to be resilient. And you have to be ready for not having a very appropriate work life balance. If you're, let's say, somebody who's very attached to festivals, or you're very attached to, let's say, having a social life, or having a personal life, you you will have to reevaluate all those things, because as Charu just mentioned, your sister is a pilot, right? When was the last time she celebrated Diwali with you?
Hardly. She is hardly at home and on the.
Exactly. We don't get festivals. When was the last time you went out for a Sunday brunch? Right? We don't get weekends. So these are sacrifices that you should be ready to make, and the only way you'll be able to make these sacrifices if you enjoy your job. Otherwise, you will be very Otherwise, you will be very irritated with what you're doing.
But but Priya, what I feel is that even after setting up the mind, economic factor is a very big factor in deciding whether a person can go for aviation or not. As you mentioned, you need around like 80 lakhs to 1 crore for this course. So a person needs to be very economically strong if they need to get into this industry. But are there any affordable options or are there any scholarships which can help children who don't have that great economical background but want to get into this?
So there are no scholarships per se, as far as I am aware. I know that a couple of organizations were trying to come up with scholarships, but when I encountered this journey, I don't think there were any scholarships. But at the same time, I would not want to discourage people who don't come from the financial background where they can afford to become a pilot. You just have to plan it financially really well. Like you have to give yourself a stipulated period. You have to make sure that whatever help you're seeking, be it from a bank loan or a relative, you have the clear cut image in your head that this is the period it will take, and always take the worst case scenario. Never take the best case scenario. Do not imagine that you'll be done with flying training in 15 months. The moment you're out of a flying school, you'll have a job. Take the worst case scenario. That will keep you very, very protected. Apart from that, make sure that the decisions that you're taking in terms of the flying school that you want to go to, or the classes that you want to attend, the books that you want to buy, are all very informed decisions. Don't just listen to a random YouTube video or some Instagram reel and be like, okay, these are top 5 books you should study. Do your research. That will help you really save money. I know it's an expensive industry to get into, but it is also one of the highest paying industries. As long as you know what the reality of it is and what the real time figures are. So do your research, basically.
So Priya, now the last question for you, that what advice would you like to give to children or to students or to anybody who wants to fly like you one day?
Just see you in the skies.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you.
I said just see you in the skies. But the advice I would say, like I mentioned before, be patient, be resilient, be very, very mentally strong, because there will be a lot of breaking points. I mean, it depends. You might get lucky and there might not be any breaking points, but just be prepared for the worst case scenario. It's going to be a long journey. So you have to really prepare your mind in a way that consistency is key. It's not like, you can do this much in this much time and get it done. You have to do chunks, one step at a time. Apart from that, make sure you're very disciplined. You respect your uniform. You respect your journey. You respect other people's journey, that it's taken them also a while to get there. And yeah, basically, somebody once actually told me that the difference between a pilot and a good pilot does not depend on the flying skills. And this is very problematic, I know, but it depends on, you could be having the worst of days. You could have a fight with your mother. You could have a fight with your partner. You could have a fight with the cab driver. The commercial staff might be rude to you. But once you enter the cockpit, you should be able to alienate yourself from all your life problems. So compartmentalizing is very important. Once you enter the cockpit, then it is just about your aircraft, your passengers, and their safety. That is all. Nothing else matters.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for such a great conversation. I hope our learners have learned a lot from you, and we'll for sure see you on the aircraft, and maybe some of them will be flying with you one day. Thank you, Priya. Thank you,
Thank
Vansa.
you. Lovely talking to you, Charu. Great initiative.
It was lovely hosting you, Priya. Thank you.
Bye bye.